So a really neat thing that comes to this area, they made that change in 2018, so it's a pretty new change that they did. So because of that, a lot of it's on the road, which isn't the best place to walk. So there's this group in town that formed, we're working to get it off the road, and then there's a group working from the Keg Trail towards town, getting that section off the road. So they're a little bit further along than we are. We're maybe like 4 to 5 years out from starting the actual work, but we've been doing a lot of scouting, kind of raising awareness, and part of that was working to become a trail town. We're still doing that. What that would do would give us trail town status, so we'd be listed on the website as a trail town. There are only 3 others in Minnesota so far, so we're pretty new to the game still, which is cool. And then we would be able to share all the cool things that Ely does on their website, and then we could share the cool stuff that the trail has on Ely's websites and promotional materials and things. It's a really cool opportunity. I think the last meeting, the Parks and Rec Board recommended that the town should pursue that status, and then at the last city council meeting, they approved that recommendation. So we're pursuing that status, which is really exciting, so thank you for that. And then I guess the other updates, I talked with the assistant chief of police about whether or not Sheridan Street would be okay to have people hiking down just on the sidewalks. Sounds like he doesn't have any major concerns with that. He's going to talk with the chief and get back to us if they think of anything. But that sounds like it should work okay. And yeah, just met with the town of Morse folks this morning also, because it goes kind of through some of their land out to the west towards Bearhead Lake State Park. So we're just trying to get everybody knowledgeable and informed. Still in the early stages though, so if you have other questions and things, please feel free to reach out and let me know. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now, when this is going strong, what kind of projections do you anticipate? How many people would use this trail in a year?
Yeah, so the trail itself was designated in 1980. So it's been, you can do the math on that one, it's been a little while. Since then, there have been 23 through hikers. So that's people who start on one side, finish on the other side. So very few. One of them actually lives in Ely now at Snowbank Lodge, which is pretty cool. He got a job offer on his hike and came back and works there now. So that's a neat economic boost that we've already had from the trail. There have been more kind of section hikers. There's a lady doing it for her second time. She's in her 70s now. So that's really inspirational. I don't think there are going to be a ton of people that just hike the entire thing in one go. It's really hard to do in one season because it is so long. But I think we're going to get a lot of section hikers that maybe start in Ely and hike to Grand Marais or to Duluth. And I think that's a really cool opportunity for like shuttle services to go pick people up and bring back. So yeah, really neat kind of smaller sections that are either like 50 miles or 100 miles or 400 miles that people can do pretty easily in this area.
Heading west, does it go to Tower and then Cook?
Yeah, Tower and then down to Grand Rapids.
Tower to Grand Rapids.
Yeah, and there's a group in Tower kind of working towards Bearhead Lake State Park, and then the group in Grand Rapids is kind of working towards Tower. They've got a pretty big chunk they're working on now, so we'll probably end up assisting with that once we get our sections figured out.
Incorporating any of the Wasabi Trail on the hiking, or are they
Yeah,
just something brand new?
So the current route is the Wasabi Trail, just because that's a little safer than being on the road. It was the road for a while. The problem with that is the official designation needs to be a footpath. So a paved bike path doesn't meet the National Park Service's standards. So it could be part of the trail, but it wouldn't be able to have like the National Park Service signage and things like that. So.
And it only took about 30 years to get the Wasabi Trail from Grand Rapids to Ely, so hope Ozzie it doesn't take the same amount of time to get done.
Yeah, more figure.
Things haven't gotten easier with time.
Yeah.
Any other questions, or Ozzie, is there anything that you need from the Park and Rec Board today to pass along to council? Or?
We're good. If somebody has a good maybe tourism contact, that would be sweet. I haven't been able to get a hold of them.
I can get you that.
That'd be sweet. Thank you.
Alright, wonderful. Well, next up we have the Ely Pickleball Club. Michelle, I know that you were the one who had sent the email, so.
But Craig is on our committee to find facilities, so he's going to go ahead and be our spokesperson.
Okay, not a problem. Whoever would like to.
Hi, I'm Craig Seidel, and I'm with the Ely Pickleball Club. Maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't know that pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the U.S. and has been for quite a few years now. We finally got our 501c3 done just recently, so that's a big deal for us. Now we can get donations and so forth. Last summer, I think we had 94 members, paying members that signed up through the community, and then we had a lot of walk-ins too. So we have 4 courts over at the high school. We have at least 1 court over at Fall Lake Township. That's not a permanent court. Permanent courts are over there. And then we're gonna be making a court, painting lines down at the ERC. So we're gonna encourage, people in Ely, kids, to go use that down there, and we'll be using it also. I know that in the past, the club had gotten some nets for the indoors over at the high school. I think we got 3 nets for them indoors. They also play outdoors, so it's getting other people involved. So we have a committee now that we're looking for. We need to expand. The 4 courts, maybe have 60 people show up. There's a lot of sitting around. So our goal is to have 6 courts together somewhere. So the reason that we're here today is to find out a little bit more about what was brought up about, community building that Adam was talking about. Find out a little bit more about that. Is there, I think Don said that you had a cost on what it would be. You went out for bid on?
No, nothing's gone out for bid. Right now, all we're doing is looking for an opportunity to get a feasibility study.
Okay, that was my
That's
next
just
question.
baby steps. It's
Yeah.
a ways out. Harold and Kelly specifically, among others, were directed to seek out some sort of joint powers funding for the feasibility study. And I can give you a little bit of background on what I've researched and what I've envisioned, and then maybe Harold can talk about what maybe he's uncovered so far. I know that the college has expressed interest, the school, although with limitations, has expressed interest, the athletic department. Fall Lake Township thinks it's a great idea, but their hands are tied as far as funding.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we don't run into too many more of those roadblocks. But I'll stand up for this presentation. So, basically, a multi-use facility gives Ely an incredible opportunity to expand what is currently the bread and butter of the community, and that's tourism and recreation. 4 months out of the year, we see a bulk of our income in our economy through Blueberry Arts, the fishing opener, fishing year-round, camping, canoeing, kayaking, sports, tournaments. I mean, it's a very long list of everything that takes place in such a short amount of time, the marathon. And when you look at some of the limitations to our area, they're pressed upon the tourists and individuals because the rest of the year is, with the exceptions of dog sledding or skiing, they're not major draws. And so how do we solve that problem? I mean, the climate's not getting warmer fast enough to give us year-round pickleball outside, so we have to create our own climate. And to do that, we use a facility such as an air-supported dome structure. And what that does is gives people, whether it's the college, the football team practice time, when otherwise the practice field would be covered in snow. It gives us the opportunity to host events such as Blueberry Arts inside in an atmosphere-controlled area that can accommodate 5,000–6,000 people. We have the lodging to support those numbers in the off-season because we can accommodate those people during the summer. So rather than putting all of our eggs in just 4 baskets, we have an opportunity to fill all 12, January through December. And what that'll do is help keep our restaurants open longer, staff more employees, give them more livable wages, because those 4 months we now have greater tourism year-round. So that's kind of the whole concept of a multi-use facility. And what it does is it provides year-round green space. Days are shorter in the winter. We have a lot of out-migration because people want to go south because the winters are long, cold, and dark. And with full spectrum lighting, indoor trees, green space, a walking track, field, all this caters to not only physical but mental health of our community members. And it can be very appealing. Instead of sending people away in those months, we start bringing more people in. And that just creates a better functioning future for our town. So that's where everything plays into what can we do to solve our biggest issues. And so now it's not a small task. Facilities like these are not cheap. I think they start around, what was that quoted? I have all the numbers.
$5 million.
Oh, that's
$5 million to cover a football field.
Yeah, okay, so, and when I did my forecasted projection for everything, it was in the $12 million range. And that would include, if we were somehow be able to acquire funds from FEMA, because during displacement of individuals during wildfires, they have a place where they could be housed. It could provide a makeshift barracks for fire crews during the summer months, because we're all out here in the summer months. So when it's dry, there's fires, so they'd have a place to stay. So we'd have lease opportunity there in months that we normally wouldn't use the facility. And the footprint's large enough where even if the fire crews were staying there, you'd still have, a dozen courts plus, locker rooms. I'd like to see an industrial grade kitchen so you can cater large conventions and events. There's a lot of limitations that we can get past with a facility of this nature. It's a matter of getting enough entities involved and finding a way to produce it. But before any of that happens, we need a feasibility study. We need a way to fund that study. And once the professionals come in and have a look at this project, they can say, yes, this will work, this could be iffy, or give up, try something new. And I 100% feel that this is an amazing opportunity that will work and benefit everybody. Not only people in town, but from outside of town, pickleball players. Little League can start earlier. More scholarships for kids because they have more time to practice. When our kids finish first in these cross-country ski races and bring home a trophy, it's such a sense of pride. And it's uplifting for them and inspiring for others. And if with more access to practice fields and opportunities to work out year-round and hone their skills and development, we can win more competitions. The college can grow in its enrollment. I mean, I remember watching the Ironmen back in like '06, and they're like, hey, they're a pretty good team, and they're diminishing in quality. They're not getting the practice they need. So we need to support the college, the school, community members, and all this can happen with a facility like this. That's my right.
Do you know what the cost would be of a feasibility study?
Could be $20,000 depending on if you want to do a market rate study, like we do for a housing study. It's pretty inclusive of, first you want to look at your area, what your market area would be. Much like when they did the rec facility, it's being remodeled in the old Department of Revenue. That reached pretty far. So that would be the level of facility plan or feasibility plan you'd like to see done. So yeah, it could be in the $20,000, $25,000 range, I'm guessing, to start. So the thought with joint powers is not to form a new joint powers, is to utilize, to ask the entities within the existing economic joint powers if they want to participate in putting a feasibility study together. So that's a city, that's a town of Morris, that's Fall Lake, that's Winton, that's a college, believe hospital maybe was participant in that, but it'd be the existing economic joint powers group that typically meets annually to go over legislative priorities, but this would be another request of them. Because obviously, you need all of them to participate, to even look at the feasibility.
So if I understand this would be a bonding project, not necessarily.
All depends what the availability funds would be. So whether it be a state bonding project, where you'd be requesting funds from the state of Minnesota to bond, to do the recreation project, but that's be way down the road. I mean, just to get a feasibility study done, if approved by joint powers, would be within the next year.
So about a year, yeah, that's what I was
To-
gonna
to
ask,
look
for the
at
feasibility study.
If we can get the other entities interested in doing that.
Oh, joint budgeting, with different, all the entities contributing to a budget.
Yeah, that's the only way it would work, is with Fall Lake Township, City of Winton, Morris, everybody pulling in the same direction, because as you all aware, the Ely area is not just within the confines of the small municipal boundaries of the city of Ely. So obviously, the Ely citizens can't afford for that size of a facility, so how do you bring the others in? As you spoke to pickleball and how it is growing in popularity, you can see the trials and tribulations other communities are having too, trying to find the space, trying to make facilities available. So yeah, I think it's a good problem to have, but yeah, what are the solutions? Everybody pulling in the same direction, I think could help. Not knowing if the sports dome's feasible, but how do we get more permanent pickleball courts to meet the growing need there? So yeah, time will tell.
So that's what you're saying, I guess, is it's a long ways down the road before anything would transpire. So I guess for now, we'd be interested in if there's any land available that would accommodate 6 courts. Because we're probably gonna need something sooner than that. That would be our goal, I guess.
I don't think we understand what may happen over there.
Well, I'm not sure what's gonna happen over there, but
There's talk about those courts by the school going away sometime in the future, possibly. When they built that, when they designed that school, they had 2 phases, and those pickleball courts were not part of the second phase of that school.
I guess we'd have to ask the school district what their plans are there.
I'd be curious to know what the school, if the school is interested in pickleball courts. If we're talking about getting rid of them at the school, that would be just interesting, because I think in PE, people belong to it. So I'd just be curious if they're gonna take them down, is it because they're building new ones, or, I'm just curious what the
No.
story is.
I think,
We're
well,
talking about
originally
expansion
on
of
that
the
plan, I think
Right,
part of that,
what
the
you
pickleball
said.
courts were like a new, or more parking area. And then, but then they're gonna be doing the football field in that, and expanding that, so that could end up coming over into that. Cause aren't they gonna take down like that whole concession, or that area, and expand, so they can have a
We don't
track
know
that's more than
scope.
like.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's what we heard, but we also
Oh,
knew.
Interesting.
Okay, so
They're currently in the tax bill or the bonding bill for $5 million for facilities, with some designated for facility assessment, so that's down the road too.
That didn't pass.
Yeah, nothing happened with that.
Oh, there'll be a special session, I'm sure everybody's dreams will come true in the special session.
But they can't, they can't host the track meet, but if they don't have the
I'm an
which is too bad for the kids.
So if,
That's an
And that-
interesting spot.
And that, in the summer seasons, if that gets paved, and then you can figure out how to flood and do whatever else. And it's a big project because it does get flooded, you put water on top of cement or whatever it would be underneath in order to accommodate those pickleball courts. But if you go look at that area, I think it's an easy floor. And the hockey rink at their
See, and they could use ice year round too, like some of the other towns have. Cause they have, what, ice like 3-4 months max,
Sure,
yeah, which is too bad for,
yeah, I mean, but also,
yeah.
it'd be bad for you if they didn't
We
have that spot.
played
But
in
it
there
is
for a little bit, didn't
something we talked about as well.
Oh, are you talking
Are you
about
talking
the
about the
outside
arena?
rink or
How much
the
it
inside
takes.
arena?
inside arena.
We
Are
played
you talking
in
inside
the
arena?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
outside.
you were talking about-
Outside at the
At the rec center.
community rec center.
Right.
Oh, okay.
The outdoor hockey rink is kind of a non-used space in the summer, right? But yet you can't play
Yeah.
on dirt, and there's complications with freezing water for the hockey on top of the cement. But some sort of surface underneath, figuring it out, working with Harold is an option that I think is a win-win for everyone involved. If it doesn't take a lot of maintenance year after year to fix after you freeze water on top.
At the same time, putting new hockey boards, so, that's where that could be a possibility down the road.
Yeah, make it easier.
That would have to be the priority project, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars just in itself. But just something to plan for, and that's, I think, a big part of this discussion is just having a plan.
Yeah.
Speculating on what the school may or may not do, I haven't seen a plan, but I know that's something they're working on. So whether the courts continue to be part of that or not, that's a good question. I think Ely Community Ed funded the paving or the repaving of those courts for them to be used as pickleball. So that wasn't necessarily all school district funds that were used for that. So,
And all the labor was us.
yeah,
So,
so
The other
hopefully
part-
they don't go away without you guys having a place to go. That would be the, worst scenario.
Worst case
I don't see
scenario.
that happening.
The other option maybe would be the tennis courts at the college.
Sure.
No?
Ted knows. We played tennis down there, and there's gaps in the pavement.
No,
I've asked, you'd have to tear the whole thing up, is what I've been told.
I talked to a structural engineer, civil engineer. He'd need borings to know for sure. He suspected that their ground underneath is not good. And you need to dig down a minimum of 3 and maybe 6 feet and bring in some structural fill and put courts on top of that.
That's what it was. You were the one who told me.
So one other piece that we haven't talked about though is the indoor. We have a problem with the indoor too, because the college is cutting back on their time. And this year, so we used to go from 8 till noon, this year it was 7 to 10. Yeah.
So the winter is kind of tough for seniors.
So I mean, that is
It's snowing.
another piece that we really need to talk about and figure out is we don't know into the future if we're gonna be able to continue. We love it at the college, but are we gonna be able to continue to play at the college? So that's, I mean,
Right.
we need to figure out something for that too.
And that's where you play indoors, like fall, winter, spring.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
really-
Yeah. So what you're talking about, Adam, you could use that in the winter too, but.
Yeah, I mean, in
Ways on
5
Yeah.
to 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, what's the time frame on projects of this nature? 5, 10,
For what?
a large scale facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's years.
We're gonna be
Considering a
guys
trail
like-
takes.
Look at that, all those things about housing projects, yeah.
We got a $9 million request for a housing project.
But sometimes,
First having a good plan. Here's what we'd like to accomplish.
Yeah, that'd be,
I think we dream big, but
Here is the college not gonna allow it, or is it gonna be a cost?
If the college is cutting back on your
Indicators that
time,
just, it almost
You
seems
know,
like
I
they're
don't, Mary,
kind
I
of
think
phasing us away.
has there
We-
ever been
we
conversations
can't
with the
help
high
but
schools
think
who
that that's
play
been happening.
indoors there?
Nobody's actually said
And-
that, but.
It all depends on the
that's
They have
no.
so many classes that.
Sometimes
Yeah.
athletic
I get it.
directors are
Yeah.
friendly
Yeah.
to the
issue with the indoor hockey.
The current one, he's got more plans for the gym
Well,
than the past athletic.
One of the problems is now it's the Minnesota State. Locally, there's outside influences have a lot of control over what happens to our property.
All right, I know we're kind of divulging here a little bit. So as of right now, with Ely Pickleball, we're looking into, we're wanting to look to see if there's a place for more space for fields, a possibility for indoor,
Yes.
that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Huh? Oh, what, a Miner's Drive? No? Carol's shaking his head.
I thought about that.
That's got a
Yeah.
rubber floor,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a rubber.
Yeah, and I don't know if the ceiling's high enough.
That's for events, music.
But
wedding
that's why,
events.
you know, that's what we
Weddings.
want to do is bring.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know for you.
They say they got a book for the next, I don't know how long.
The old IGA.
What's that?
We've,
The old IGA.
it's a lot of art projects, so
Jay already has good
it's right across from
stuff.
Randy's
Next
house.
Yeah,
to
oh yeah, there's big
the,
plans for stuff in there.
Clothes and all.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
Yeah.
it's gonna be the Ben Franklin, Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
More like the Swanning Grand
Good,
Parade.
let's aim it down to
Flowers
the
and,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
They bought
Yeah.
both those
Yeah, so I
lots
don't
at
know.
the same time.
That'd be a really nice.
So-
Have we ever talked about building a new?
Well, that's what I was wondering, maybe they donate.
Nobody wants to touch on that one, that's,
Actually,
I
can
love
I
seeing
touch on
the
that one?
ultimate.
With a successful, large-scale
Said I love
project,
seeing
I
the
see a
ultimate
phase two
frisbee.
being a small
Part of
indoor
this park
ice
plan
arena
is
that
to
can
do
do
that.
ice
You
year
know,
round.
that open space in that area,
They do have insulated
things
ice
like
there.
that.
I'd love to see that in the future as well. Just down the road.
Like I said,
Yeah.
Would be fine.
Yeah.
hopefully the schools got the ability to put together this, their facility plan, to have a review of all the sports facilities, which includes the girls softball field, the veterans field, the football field, hopefully a track at some point, and the hockey arena. Those are all owned by the school. So with this potential funding, that was in the bill that hopefully comes back in special session, they can get that funding so they can move forward on those. There is $5 million that's in that bill, which to many seems like a lot of money, but for those that are involved in projects every day, $5 million doesn't go very far. So the hockey arena, that's owned by the school district, that does need a lot of improvements. We did a little work with them years ago and they put in a new ice system. Bought that facility 10 years or so of life. It's just, hopefully they can get that put together here in the next year and can move forward on some of those projects. Because it is, everybody wants more facilities, but we gotta try to maintain what we have. And how do we get participation from those entities that are struggling to maintain what they have? So it's, we can continue working together. I think you now being a 501c3 is gonna be important, especially as more and more people are becoming pickleball players and those that visit the area. So yeah, try to reach far and wide. Sometimes you'd be surprised with those that contribute to projects. The basketball court that you're looking at painting down at the rec facility, that was money privately donated by someone with a place on Burnside. He came to us one day and said he'd like to give some money for a project of X magnitude, and that was something we're looking at the time. Julie was on the board at the time. We also got money for ECR for some computers and other things at the time. So you just never know. That was $70,000, I believe, at the time. So things like that do come along. Well, the bronze sculptures that are going in the garden, that's another project, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. That'll be a beautiful addition here at the end of June. That wasn't something, we got some Gardner Humanities Trust money to do some of the foundations. The rest is all being funded by Dr. Bill Rahm and his wife. So, there are people out there and entities that you wouldn't be aware of that come along, and the restoration of this building, the restoration of a band shell, the construction of the picnic shelter down at Seamers Park, all donated money. And it was all money given to the city from a couple different families. So they said sometimes, as long as you have a good plan, if you have a plan in place, if you have, these are the projects we want to accomplish in the next 5 to 10 years, when somebody sees you have a plan in place and they can say, boy, that's one my brother, mother, sister would have really supported, that's how those projects get accomplished. So I think where you guys are at, getting your 501c3 together, knowing the membership you have and how it's growing. And I drive by in the summer, and I'm always amazed how many people are there standing around waiting to play.
Right.
You know, so.
And that, it's not only that, it's all the people that play when we're not even, it's non-organized play.
Sure.
People just show up all the time.
Anybody own that Wilderness Outfitters building?
Is there any piece of property in that's in city limits that is big enough for 6 courts?
I think we have to draw that up. If, well, Dennis, you can give me a sketch of that. Give me a drawing of that, and it's one of those things where if I have it in the back of my mind and I'm driving around, I might go, hey, I think this is the spot, you know, and then, you know, offhand, a lot of our land that's being redeveloped is, we're looking towards residential, you know, development, like around the old city garage, but not saying we couldn't carve out a piece, because what goes along with residential housing is recreation. So where we're looking to build the 37-unit apartment building with the HRA in that area, we're also looking across the road to the old circle dump, snow dump area, and thinking about, wouldn't that be great as a sports field for kids if their families live in the housing units down there, making a, you know, just a baseball-sized area, you know, is there property down there or somewhere in the old city garage area that we could utilize for it? So that's what I'm saying. We get it drawn up, we try to develop it as part of a comprehensive plan of what we want to see done in an area, and then slowly, I know it takes time, but if we have a good plan put together, that's where we are more successful getting funds, whether it be state bonding funds, you know, the IRRB funds. We got federal EDA funds for the trail center. You know, it took us 18 years from concept to reality, and we should have that under construction later this summer. So the trail, like Ozzie was talking about, that's going to be a major connecting point for that trail system. You know, it just things kind of gravitate around other developments. So I think we just keep working towards that and, you know, see what we can find.
I have 2 thoughts about pickleball. But would it fit, do you think, to make 1 or 2 courts where the old elementary playground is at the school? There's nothing there right now. You know, like if you drove in.
1 or 2 courts by themselves doesn't really help.
Okay. And then, you know, when we built the skate park over at the rec center, IRRB gave us $25,000 and the city matched it for that. And the hockey people are researching a surface that we could put down in the outdoor rink area over there, so that, you know, that group that comes up and plays, it's a handicap league of hockey, they like to come there, but it's not perfect for them either. But then our hockey kids could use it, and maybe that would be nice for some courts.
What type of a surface are you talking about?
It's a synthetic surface that you put down in the research that they've come up with. There's one that will go on a gravel. You don't have to have concrete. You know, but it would take some.
Yeah. My vision down there is redoing all the boards, doing it 100% the way it will sustain for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
That's how it would be. Set it up on concrete, new boards. Yep, whole thing. And then we're set.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Then we're 75, what's that rink? 75 by 150, I think. So you can get how many in there, Dennis?
75 by 150, we put in 4 courts.
4 courts, so.
Then you got 1 on the basketball court, so that's 5.
Yep.
You're almost there.
Ideally, we'd like to have 6
Possibly
or
5.
together.
8 together.
But that's what I'm saying, this is a project we've talked about for Park and Rec as we continue to maintain the rec center. And the next iteration for that hockey rink is to make it a concrete surface, you know, purchase boards, fiberglass boards. You know, those were built so long ago, I think Potlatch donated the plywood for them at a cook. Well, how long has that been closed? It's 2008. So So for a while, but they've served a good purpose up till now. But now, here's the next, was pickleball even anything thought of then? Nope, not really. That was 2006, 7, but now, that's one of the major sporting activities now we're seeing with a certain demographic growing, younger by the day.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
college
sure.
kids.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say we'll just keep it on the list, and as we plan our future projects, certainly incorporating pickleball is something that wasn't even on our, I don't think it was even on our plan up until a year or so ago. So, yeah.
Is there room at all down by the Pioneer Mine there? There's a big flat area down there
That's
outside
parking
the-
lot.
Yeah.
That's for the parking lot. When there's an event down there, every possible spot's taken.
Okay.
Now we got capacity, a couple of hundred down there if there's a wedding. I mean, we had, the high school had the prom there this year.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah. So 25 years ago, would I have thought prom would be held at that old mine building? No way. No way. Now, they've reserved it for the next 3 years. That's where they want to have it, so.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the discussion of multi-purpose use, that's what it has to be. We gotta figure out a space that everybody can pair and share, as we move forward, so. So yeah, Dennis, if you can give me that sketch.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a couple different layouts with 6 courts on it. Sure.
I have 2 recommendations. I do think that it's our job to advocate for recreation as improvements to quality of life in Ely. I would recommend that Parks and Rec advocates for the pickleball club at college for better indoor time in the winter. And so if that continues to be squished, can we be an advocate?
You have to remember you're an advisory committee to the council. So if you're supportive of pickleball continuing to use the school, college facilities, just make that as a request for the council to maybe support the continued use and advocate to the college.
I see.
So.
Well, you got screwed up too because of the sports teams and their classes. To be honest,
Oh, yeah.
it was like
How do
3
you,
girls practicing softball at 10 to 11 and 3 girls practicing softball from 11 to 12 because they couldn't all line up to have a team practice, which is why you got cut short. Just knowing what I know at the college. So it wasn't. So if things get a little more gelled and they plan a little better, which hopefully they will, with somebody more in charge of it this year than has been in the past, maybe that gets cleaned up and you have your times. That's why it was cut short, is this practices were scattered, multiple practices for the same sport in one day. Nothing to do with that part.
And this is why it's good to have college folks involved in this committee and school folks involved.
It's Alyssa Nelson, I'm not
Yeah.
representing the college. I'm not
Yes,
representing the college.
Alyssa
Just
must have had a
yet.
class tonight, but, yep. Has Bill served for many years?
We do have advisory boards out for college.
Yeah.
Too, so.
That's why it's important. 'Cause everything's connected somehow.
Yes, my second one is when we, I recommend that when we do review our comprehensive plan, that we keep pickleball in mind. And I guess, and maybe more broadly, multi-use facilities for all types of recreation, including pickleball. But I think community sports in general, I think is 2 thumbs up. So I just want to recommend that. Keep 2 thumbs up. Back out of that one.
Are we seeking to follow your first recommendation? Is that?
Oh, sure, we can back up to that.
Yeah, I'd like to revisit that because I'm not sure
Sure.
exactly what you're asking the city council to do.
Well, I guess before Harold's helpful comment, my vision, but once we can fix it together, was can we write a note that's hey, we we want you to keep pickleball on your list when you're making your gym schedules, like, we think it's worth it.
I think what the council could do is advocate for any community organizations or entities to consider any facilities that they may operate or maintain, offering up available space for pickleball. Something that doesn't directly jab at the college.
Oh, sure.
That's what I was saying. We know somebody that works at the college in a
Yeah.
facility management role, so I might talk to him first.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Because Adam's 100% right.
Yeah, right, yeah.
In
I don't wanna make anybody mad.
an effort to try to help you, we end up hurting you more because
Right.
now they're going to Park and Rec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually,
That's a good point.
I know
Yeah.
that athletic.
Maybe you,
out there, and so does Bart. Does golfing with them.
maybe you need to encourage them to,
Yeah. Well, and I
we had
guess,
somebody
like-
instruct it, create a class of pickleball at the college.
Yeah, yeah.
And seniors especially can even audit a class for almost nothing.
Yeah.
And so it was open to anybody to take the class.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking out off the wall, but
Yeah, and then.
but
it's worth,
pickleball is recreation, isn't it? Physical education, recreation.
Like, yeah, I think like great editing would be to go ask questions, so whether your information like, oh, here's why that happened, like that's super informative to know that it was scheduled and things with softball. You're like, oh, rather than like, come on, so.
They have Road Scholar classes in
I would
pickleball.
process like jabbing in college.
That's education.
Yeah.
I think we can take it upon ourselves to communicate with those powers and see what we can do. Just out of interest.
Increase their enrollment.
Without.
Yeah.
Credit's a credit, right?
Yeah.
It's a credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had all the college students play pickleball
Like
at
have a
our
letter for
with
you
us
guys
over
and then
the
have the college be like,
I mean, that's,
well, they're bypassing
They
us
join
going
in
to
with
the
They're
city.
already
Now they're
there,
telling us
so-
what we can do and what we can't do. We don't like that even.
Yeah, we
So,
don't.
Lesser
we
yeah, we
don't-
wanna make sure we have that good relationship with
Yeah.
everybody.
they can do it as intramurals,
And
but
it seems like maybe it was a
You can
power
also do it
change, because it was pretty
class.
good, like, it was
Yeah,
very.
up until this year.
Yeah,
Or
a
both.
lot vandalized, you know, it's a very simpatico relationship with two of these, you know, married.
And I think just a little bit of history too, as far as the use of the college. We are actually one of the very few community organizations that even gets to use college facilities without being charged anything for the use of it. So as much as I would appreciate a good word from the rec board,
No, that's gotta
I
be
think,
careful. Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
just kind of need to leave it as is, for now, because, I know who you're talking about that you can talk to, but, and he was before, when he was in charge of the whole college, it was great, we had no problems. But now with the change in the, now in Northland College, and now the boss is someplace in Whittier or wherever, it was a big change and, I think it needs to go, any talk with the college needs to go through community eds instead of the one behind ours. So, but we appreciate I appreciate your backing and your,
Yeah,
but you
sure.
guys can do what you want, but that's just my
Yeah,
thoughts.
no,
I honor her opinion, she's been doing it for a long time.
Alright. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all for
you.
coming and for filling us in on what's going on. Because it is definitely something that, for more context, the Park and Rec Board is reviewing our comp plan and kind of updating it, making sure that we can get things situated. So just like with Little League, the baseball fields, the softball fields, now that we know that we want to get pickleball in there too, I think that it's starting to show more and more that maybe we need to be looking into community sports. Because it seems more and more groups are coming up and coming forward saying that they need help with things. And as the Park and Rec Board, we want to make sure that we can help keep that recreation piece going, especially here in Ely.
Which is, as the treasurer for the city of Ely, that doesn't mean that there's an open checkbook for every group to get request funds, because that's my next time.
But we're always open to conversations.
Yep, and
always
partnerships
happy
and how we
to
can
help in any way.
support each other.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we appreciate you having us here.
Right.
We get a lot better idea of where you're at, and I think you get a better idea of what we're all about too.
Absolutely, yeah. Anytime. We're here third Monday of the month. For the time being, if that changes, it'll be on our minutes and on the city website. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to stay through if you would like, but if you have places to be and dinner to eat, please feel free.
We got ultimate frisbee playing.
Alrighty.
Creating that big open space.
See, Don, I'm glad you have a good one. That's
Alright.
Monday.
Is there a request to speak section tonight? I don't see anything on your agenda.
Yeah. Here's, this, I think this is an extra.
Thanks. But I would like to speak briefly on the budget and then also comp plan. Hopefully I can do it like in 3 minutes.
Okay. We can definitely do that when we get down to those parts here. We've just got 2 more additional things before we get onto the budget and the comp plan. First off, Julie, you had sent an email about reflections and.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a new idea for reflections dance classes for this summer. They would like to be there from 5:30 to 9:30, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, every day.
At night?
Yeah. So, I just wanted to see what you all think. I hate to.
Once a week or?
Monday, Tuesday, 3 days a week. And then that's where we run our summer program. You know, it is done at 4:30, but, you know, it just, you spend so much time cleaning for somebody else, and then we come the next day and we clean for them, usually. So I just wonder if there's some other way. And now those later hours are for adult classes, you know, and I thought we were opening for them to use it because it was for kids, and it's gotten to be more and more adult classes.
We've had this conversation. They can rent the pavilion at Sears. Isn't that the conclusion we reached? We discussed this, what, 6
Well, that
months
was
ago?
for,
The indoor.
that was the morning, Northwoods Partners,
Oh.
IT,
Oh, well,
like them.
reflections can be rented too.
Yeah.
And it's for the kids.
Yeah,
We
well,
had this
and they, I
conversation.
mean, they're a nonprofit, so they pay $25 for each of those days. And each person who comes, you know, like there's 4 classes or so.
Aren't they part of NLAA now? So if they're part of NLAA, which is tied with the college, couldn't they use the stage at the college to practice?
Oh, yeah.
Probably not during those hours,
Why
because
would-
during the summer, there's no maintenance person there to open the doors during that time.
That's right, yeah.
But they're doing shows. They're doing summer shows. They're doing different things and rehearsals for the show. Having done those shows, there are rehearsal nights where you're there until 10 o'clock at night.
And they are good shows.
And I'm sure Ian.
They are.
I'm sure Ian's in charge of it at that point in time in terms of locking and unlocking and whatnot, most of the summer.
Right.
So again, I don't know everything, having not been here for a summer, but this is the little bit I know from my time there, that it's maintenance. Opens the doors at 6, they close at 4:30, college is closed after that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Ian Law has something, access to the theater, but he's the one,
You know,
if it is Northern Lights Art Association.
when the rec facility was constructed, 17, 18 years ago, whatever it is now, that was a youth recreation facility. That's what it was constructed for. Range Youth in Action did a lot of fundraising, involved a lot of youth. Actually, Mayor Omerza was on the Range Youth in Action board back then. Chris Ismail, who's with IRRB, he was the one that led the charge for the rec facility, and it was meant for youth. The location was put in an area where we knew we would impact youth, where it would be available for the youth to utilize it. So, especially with ECR and with especially the programming that Julie has grown with her tenure there, it's all for the youth. So my only concern, having been involved since the beginning, was
it was for youth activity. That's great if others want to rent it, but if it starts to overlap with activities that was originally intended for, I think that's where you may want to just think about, is there some better space for them to use? There is another dance company in town too, that owns their own facility. You know,
Right.
that isn't utilizing a subsidized city facility for that, so I don't know if that comes into play or not. I don't know the ins or out or what the programs are that they're providing, but, you know, that's something you gotta keep in your mind, that if it's nonprofit, so that they're getting a lesser rate, but they're providing the same services of another for-profit business, that's where we, you know, get some issue from those business owners or those that are paying for that.
Well, you're getting 25 bucks a day and you're cleaning twice, basically. That doesn't seem like it's even worth it.
No,
What's the
and
rental
that's-
rate on the pavilion at Seamers? You close the pavilion?
So I don't even know,
It's
it's probably $100.
What about the hub when it opens? Would there be a spot in there? Are you gonna use
That's what I
that?
thought they were waiting for, but they have not brought it up with the Ely Area Community Foundation.
That's what I always believed the intent was, that they were gonna be part of that facility.
Because my other piece of it, and Bud brought it up, is the cleaning piece of it. Any rental, it doesn't matter where you go, if you don't keep it clean after your allotted rental time, you shouldn't be going back. So has there been an issue with them
Well,
leaving the space dirty?
Well, there's every renter leaves something. I mean, and the more important thing that's happened lately is that the people who run those adult classes must not get the memo about what they're supposed to do, so the windows have been left open. The door is unlocked, but the alarm is armed, so
The door's
somebody.
ajar.
Somebody opens the
So
door.
somebody
and the alarm
opens the
goes
door.
Alarm goes off.
Yeah.
Bob
It's,
has to,
It's
And
overtime,
do overtime.
overtime for our staff.
So many kids walk by and test that handle too, just because they're wandering around having fun. I've been in there and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh! Yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's open.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's
Yeah.
just comical.
So it's, and I know, Julie probably won't say it, but it has been a irritant for her trying to do their programming and then scheduling around everybody else. And that wasn't the original intent.
Yes.
Do you know how much the dance class members pay?
$60 or $100 for, like 4
A
or.
series.
I don't know, for.
Yeah, that seems.
And that includes, I
Didn't
think,
make it a
shoes,
problem.
out costume rooms, all that kind of stuff. Because I want to say that they try to keep it fairly minimal for their.
Yeah,
So this
I
is
don't know. I've lost
strictly-
track of it because they've added so many adult classes.
Sure.
This is strictly like October to May, I'm imagining, because it's during the summer?
Now,
Yes.
this summer she wants.
So like the
30 days a
band
week.
shell in here, I mean, there's lots of, in the summer, there's lots of places where.
I'd say if it's an irritant to you, Julie, we should.
What about
Like I said,
the-
she wouldn't say it, but
What about the senior center? Could they use
The
that?
senior center, yeah, I mean, there's a million.
they're looking for more revenue.
Yeah,
Senior
that's
center,
very true.
great spot.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Also be a good indoor pickleball spot.
Yeah.
We play ping pong in there, clear it out.
Yeah.
The seniors, playing at the senior center? I can't even imagine such an outrageous idea.
Yeah, well, I've talked to Molly many times, and she says, well, kids are welcome to come to those adult classes, but it's like swing and stuff that.
Those are in
It's Humphrey
Nine,
Bogart
nine,
night.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, so,
So it's up to the
Well,
rec board.
I'd recommend that they find somewhere else to do it, like you're saying. The band shell in here, other things, seems like an irritant to you and they're not taking
It's
care of the
overlapping-
facility.
It's overlapping with ECR schedule.
It's for the
That's
kiddos,
what
yeah.
it is. It's overlapping with the schedule for what ECR is providing to the Ely youth.
Yeah.
okay, well, I mean, and even if it was just one,
Three in a row.
I'd say no, still, yeah.
not even that.
No, you open that can of worms. You start making exceptions. I have a philosophy. It's ever watch a cartoon and there's a jug with 3 X's on it? It's poison, you drink it. Okay, there's poison when you're running a business or a municipality. There's 3 X's that you should never do. Make exceptions. You should never exclude people from certain activities or opportunities. And you should never establish expectations on their behalf. Because once you create expectations, there will be cases you can't fulfill them. When you exclude people, you're creating an atmosphere of exclusion and privilege. And what was it?
Expectations, I think the original thought was this was gonna be interim. That's what I always believed, is
Yeah,
that
making
that
exceptions.
program was interim. They were finding a different space or whatever, the rec facility. But she was on the board for the rec facility, I'm pretty sure she was on it. Venue.
Was, yes. I've been told a lot. Anyway, I'll talk to her and say, because she asked, can we have this? And I just think we've made, like you say,
You make
so
an
many
exception
exceptions.
for her and then somebody else wants one.
Center's a great spot. Yeah, I think the senior center.
Yep.
Then
That
there's
would
more
be a
people
good
parking in
$10
the
more
parking
dollars
lot
a
for
day.
an excuse to
Hmm?
go.
It would only cost them $10 more a day.
The city will cover that difference.
No. Remember I said.
Oh, my God,
No.
Okay.
I guess
Thank you.
my only thing and my only thought with it as well, that probably playing devil's advocate a little bit, you mentioned exclusion. So now I understand that the rec center is meant for kids. Absolutely, 100% meant for kids. The classes are going from 5:30 to 9:30 at night. The adult classes. So if there are other adult classes that are happening that want to use the rec center later in the evening outside of the kids' programming time, we're now shying away from them also being able to use
There's other
it.
facilities they can use. It's not within the thesis or scope of that building in its intention to accommodate those people. It's not what it's
I
intended.
think you stick with what the overlap is for the programming, for ECR.
Well, in the summer, is the rec center staffed beyond 5:30? Like, does it stay open?
Yep, I mean, and we would like to, but one thing we've taught the kids is that they cannot count on it being open.
Sure. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so they have found lots of.
I hate that. You can stop by on a Wednesday and the doors are locked, kids are on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I am trying to retire by the end of this summer, and so we're restructuring.
I know, that's
What are you gonna do?
I have a couple of nutrients planned, and we're gonna restructure our staffing. So, I would like to think about going back to our original idea when we agreed to take over the programming over there, to have somebody who wants to work with kids and wants to be a mentor and can handle, not necessarily being there, the person every single night, but be in charge of the programming. We've had some really good people who attract, we had like 26 kids there every night. Because the person really wanted to be that person for those kids, And maybe we can do that again.
Yeah.
Bring that back.
Yeah, and that works with consistent hours at the
Right.
rec
Yeah.
center, so kids are like, oh yeah,
Yeah, you can't
every Thursday
reschedule
I
it
do
around,
this.
somebody wants to
Yeah.
use it for a birthday party,
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
wants to
like,
do
nope.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, it's.
Sorry, your kids can't have a birthday party here. It's our romper. It's, you probably, you're too young. You're too young. You watch G.I. Joe. Harold will remember romper room.
Yeah, so if we, could staff it more regularly and, develop that expectation.
So do you need an official motion or for like the reflection stuff or
I think right
just
now
a
it's just,
conversation?
it's gonna overlap with the programming you got.
It was just a request, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I would like to take, sorry to interrupt.
No, but
In our past discussions of having a recreation coordinator or director operating for the city, again, this would be a perfect task for them to take up to provide guidance to that
You
organization.
think $25 a day is gonna cover the cost for
No,
another staff person?
I did not request, input from Harold.
What are you talking about?
I'm
That's
just
a little
pointing
over,
it
that's
as
a
a
little
matter of fact.
$3 an hour, it's fine.
But I'm just, again, if there were funding avenues for that, you know, we do have it on that list.
Yeah.
Just to keep it on the radar.
I've been doing it for 25 years.
Looking for money.
It's supposed to be simple, right?
Okay. Well, thank you, Julie.
Thank you for everything.
Yes, yeah.
And if, what's going on, we can talk after.
Okay, next up is, there's an email, just as an FYI, from Michelle Moore, from Heavy Metal Sports, regarding the basement part of the pavilion at Seamers, or the basement of the building of the pavilion. Just with some updates on stuff that they are going to be doing, stuff that they're not going to be doing.
In essence, she doesn't need that space anymore, so.
Yep, he doesn't need it.
That was the original pavilion, it was just the basement.
Yeah.
There was no upper level, so it had a flat roof on it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
So I believe it might have been a shop class even that built the upper part.
Oh, cool.
I still have a canoe I could donate if you want to put a canoe out down there.
Okay.
So there's a reason why that basement's just used as storage, so.
Yep, and right now it's full of canoes and kayaks that
Yep.
we would like
Try its
to
highest,
have
highest use. Yep.
But I would really like to set it up so that families can borrow boats.
The only,
Borrow or rent. Because we talked about renting them through the city with the combination locks, when they pay the rental, they get the combination, they unlock the boat, they take it out, they return the equipment. Remember this conversation?
yeah,
So, where are we, where did we leave that?
Well, I wrote a grant that didn't get funded. for
That's
this
what it
stuff,
was.
yeah.
So what do we need? Because you say there are canoes and kayaks in there.
So if you wanna use them, tell me and I'll open it up.
But we should rent them out as a revenue source for ECR.
Yeah, okay, I'll hire somebody to rent out
All
stuff.
they have to do is stop by
Oh, and
the
get
clerk's
the-
office, get the combination, take it down there.
Okay.
Something to this,
okay, but what about on weekends when the clerk's not there?
okay, we can try to
Let
shoot
people use it
both.
for nothing.
We can try to make it float.
Yeah.
Our thought was to do a daisy chain lock on them, and then give people a combination, they can take it, use it, bring it back, lock it back up. Just as an in-kind, make it available
That
for
was
people
my
to use.
plan, yeah.
And how would they get the combination?
But I found a lock that you can reprogram so that the mischief makers wouldn't be able to come back
Yeah,
and do their rack.
Yeah.
but then how would people get the combination to be able
We
to
could
use
just give it to
Call
them.
ECR.
Okay,
You know, and we'd have-
Knowing that there's families that are interested in using them,
yeah,
so that would be how that would work. And then,
I was just curious on like I mentioned to Adam about like weekends, you know, and somebody's up here, if they find out, oh, ECR rents out the boat, I don't wanna
They
be
might have to
bothering
call
somebody
us.
on the weekend.
They might have to call us before the
Okay.
yeah,
That makes
put up a
sense.
sign.
Make people plan ahead.
That's
What?
on the machine.
Yeah.
Or would that be pending the usage
Families
data?
and kids will use them.
We have 3 canoes so far, we have 5 sea kayaks, and 5 old-fashioned river
Paddles, PFDs.
paddles, PFDs.
Ready to go.
Wow.
I'm not
Turnkey.
gonna do blown out spray skirts, because I want them to fall out.
Good idea.
Yeah, a good point.
100%.
Especially when you want to.
Inexperienced, probably don't borrow them out until after the second week of June.
Yeah.
Or when the water reaches a certain temperature.
But no, I think that was the intent when they were donated, is for families to use them, and
So
that's the way to
that's why
get them
we
using them.
accepted
Make it easy so they can get them. Yeah.
The other thing that I just wanted to point out, and I don't know if it's something that we would need to do anything about, was that on Michelle's email, there's a mention of a lot of random dead bees on the floor. So do we need to worry about bees and hornets or anything over there and getting treatment if people
If there's a report, we take care of it, so
I think
probably
they're
all dead
mason
for a
bees,
reason.
so they're not dangerous.
No.
Rotten tree stumps, and we get calls down here time to time where the hornets or bees or wasps or whatever will form a nest, and we gotta take care of them, so it's
Yeah.
just.
Okay. Okay. Next up was, is our budget. So Harold, I'll let you start, and then Frederica, you said you have some.
Yeah, regarding the budget and also the comp plan, I'll try and do it all in 3 minutes.
No problem, I'm letting
The,
Harold start though.
You know, we've had some requests here as of late, Little League, league softball fields, requesting additional assistance. We set our budget starting in about June, is when the budget worksheets go out. And then by August, we set a preliminary levy, and that's a levy that gets worked on until the end of December, when the final levy is certified by the council. So it's kind of, over time, the council wants the levy to go down. So when you get your preliminary levy notice on your property taxes, you know, that's the highest it can be. And then by the time the budget goes out, by the end of the year, and it gets certified, the levy has come down. I brought copies of a lease that was with the softball complex from 1982. And how this was put together back in that time, they wanted to develop a league softball complex, and the city allowed the use of the property with the, understanding that the league would then take care of it, which they did for decades. It's just, I'm sure you guys have seen that they are struggling to get more teams. They're down to 4 teams, hoping to get a 5th team. So what once was required to have 4 fields, so they could run, 8 teams on a league night. Everybody gets a game. Now they're down to, two fields with 1 team taking that night off and alternating throughout the summer. So the number of people using it is going down, which obviously has an impact on the league and how they budget and maintain the field. So I've seen this kind of over time. Julie's been involved in Park and Rec for a long time too, and it's, the league, they provide liability insurance covering the city as other insured. So if somebody was to get hurt out there playing on those fields, the league has insurance, the city has insurance obviously for the property and for the improvements on the property, but they operate the league. So there's been some discussion about, well, maybe the city takes over these leagues. Well, if the city takes over these leagues, the city also takes over the liability of running those leagues, of maintaining the fields, of scheduling, just all of it, setting the fees, whereas now the league tries to operate their fields how they can. We assist where we can, which is mowing, maintenance of their mowing equipment. We purchased a load of clay for the Little League. You might think, well, that's not a big deal. Well, it's $2,300 that was not in the budget. Okay, we bought a load last year. We bought a load for Little League last year. We bought a load for league softball last year. Little League, we helped them. We spread it out, fixed up their fields real nice. Softball, they didn't actually need it last summer. They didn't use any of it, so we used some of that to fix the girls' softball field last fall, which is, a big improvement. The fields actually play a lot better than they did before. But now I got the league softball. They want another load of clay. So, we keep running into this. Well, we need this. We need this. This lease is how it originally started. You don't have to read it now, but you can read in there how the maintenance and those things were the responsibility of the league, and how the city continues to take on more and more responsibility for the budget on these leagues that include people from the surrounding area. So we've got to look at this just like we just discussed about joint powers, possibly for a sports complex. It's much the same. How do you bring everybody together and go, okay, that's great. You want to have a league, here's the expectations, here's what we can provide from the city of Ely taxpayers. You'll have to do this within your teams, the sponsors, the other entities in the area to help participate towards the costly operations. Little League, we're working with them right now to draft up a lease, just to have those expectations. Just like softball, the lease was for $0, but the expectation was for them to maintain the fields and for them to provide liability insurance. The girls softball field over here, that's a high school field. Part of that is on city land, the whole infield is city land, the outfield is on school property. I don't know what the arrangement was way back when that was built, but you know, like I said, last fall and now this spring, our crew went and did some improvements on it, because I want to make sure it's available and it's to a standard that's acceptable to not only the team here, but the other teams that come here. You know, Veterans Field, beautiful facility. Little League, beautiful facility. Some others kind of are getting, neglected a little bit. So, is that the city's responsibility? Is the Park and Rec's responsibility? Never has been. Never was. Never was intended to be. But when I see things that aren't quite to the standard that I would expect them to be, we do what we can to help. But we need to get on the same page. League softball is one thing. They can have 2 fields. That's what it's looking to me out there. Maybe we can get 2 fields decent out of the 3.5 that are there now. But it may mean abandoning one of them and actually making that an area where all this groundwater, surface water, can drain to and stay, you know? But that's something we've struggled with for a long time, and it's always, you know, well, what can the city give? Oh, it's only 2,300 here, it's only 4,600 there, it's only, you know, it's only we need the city equipment out here for 2 or 3 days, we need, you know what I mean? So how do we make sure, you know, these facilities are on city-owned property, the taxpayers of Ely provided the land, provided, you know, a lot of the infrastructure for that field. How do we, you know, just make sure that we're meeting the standard that people expect? You know, we don't want to have fields that are just it's there. No, we want, you know, we want it to be proper. You know, we want it to be like the Little League, like the Veterans Field, you know, and those are ran by a Little League association and a baseball association operates that big field with assistance, obviously, from the school. But that's where I want to go. This is actually really old, but it kind of gives you the basis of how this was established.
You said Ryan has a copy of that?
Ryan?
Yeah.
No.
Board?
One of their board members do.
Could I'll leave one with Ryan too, just as.
I gave one to the board member.
Oh, to the board.
Yeah. So we'll be drafting it up with the understanding of what is their capital improvement plan for the Little League field. Because if there's improvements being made on that, that's city property. Those should all be sanctioned and approved by the city. Which is just an understanding of if you go to do something, just let the city know. And then we can add it, if it's an improvement, we need to up our insurance on it, we up our insurance. All this kind of came to light is when we had the straight line winds, how many years, 10 years ago? And the bleachers off of first, no, it was after that. The bleachers off of the first baseline ended up in center field, all bent up. And Little League came to me and said, well, do you have insurance to replace those bleachers? I'm like, whose bleachers are they? Well, we bought them. So I checked, no, I wasn't insurance on, you know, but I was able to add it into our policy, you know, and then that's when it came to my attention, like, oh, wait a minute, how is this working? Yeah. You know, so luckily we were able to get it covered, they got new bleachers, but it's important for there to be expectations and who's gonna do what. Sure. Little League, that group probably changes every 3 years, 4 years, and then it's new parents that come in. Not a lot of overlap, so a lot of those things are just not known. A new group comes in and goes, wow, what goes on here, who does what? And, you know, last year, all the power was dead. We ran power all the way from the bus garage, all the way around the field, put a new transformer there, and they ran a new service to their concession. I know next year they're looking at the steps to the press box need to be replaced. I think the refrigeration unit in the concession is shot, you know, and do they need another load of clay again? Is this gonna be a $2,500, request every year for clay? I don't think it will be, but we need to understand, is that the expectation? As Adam, as a city council member, has a vote on what the levy's gonna be, these are all things we gotta take into consideration, so. Just some food for thought. And I think it's to get it with Little League, with school on the softball field, with the league. We did it with Hidden Valley years ago, 15 years ago. No, that's on school trust land. This lease is with the city. We've got a sublease with Ely Ski and Bike Club for the maintenance of the facility. That's worked out. When you look what we've done out there. This is with everybody working together, participating with expectations of who's going to do what.
So do you think we should try to get the softball people, the Little League people, city, and then maybe the league softball together to just talk about what they want, what their plans are, and see what
I
they're
talked
trying to
with
fit together?
10U, 12U, and 14U today, just letting her know, hey, you might want to go look out there before you plan.
Who was that?
Lamontagne, Janine. Yep. So it sounds like they're getting a real organized group together for girls softball, which is great. It's just, those fields are in bad shape, And it's not because the city didn't maintain them, it's because they've been league softball fields. And I think the expectation is a little lower for, beer league. So going forward, that's something we have to take into consideration. So as we look to other projects, what else we're gonna do, this is where I keep pulling back to. Let's look at what we have and we have to maintain. Like you look here, it looks like, oh, this is easy to maintain. It costs money, So.
Well, and I went with Jill to talk to Tim Leeson about the shared property over on this softball field. And he said he was unaware of some of the details and they had missed communication with a bunch of people last summer. So things went too long, but he's interested in being part of the solution.
That's good. If I see it's not mowed, we're gonna go mow it. Somebody's gonna give me a call.
Yeah. Frederica, would you like to?
But didn't you have more, Harold, or whatever?
That's it for today.
The budget, oh, okay.
That's a budget discussion,
Yeah.
just the other facilities we have, we have the rec facility. Every park and recreation item you see in the Ely area is provided by the city, with the assistance of others, but all the township folks, everybody comes to Ely
Is
to
there,
recreate, so.
so if budget discussion or levy stuff is starting in June.
Yep.
If we have things that we wanna look into or looking, for projects, whatever, for comp plan, that kind of stuff, we need to get moving on numbers and that kind of stuff, so that way we can submit it to budget.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, because if it's not in the preliminary levy, it's certainly not gonna be in the final levy, and I'm certainly not gonna have money for it in April.
So just to draw this out, anything in Parks and Rec is a part of the projects committee's budget. And so currently, how much funding is earmarked for Park and Rec?
It's the operation of the facilities, so when you look in the city budget for the rec facility, for parks and recreation, those are the budgets I'm talking about.
Those are continuing expenses.
Yeah, those are
haven't
continuing
changed
expenses.
over the years by much?
It's escalation in costs.
And what about?
If we continue to get destruction in the Whiteside bathrooms every week, that's $500 a week, and paper towel dispensers, soap dispensers got destroyed this weekend.
Again, we need to just go back to cameras in our parks. So.
Well, we already got, there you go.
So in addition to what the continuing expenses are, replacements on playground equipment or gas for the lawnmowers.
Yep. That actually I cover in Park and Rec, or in Public Works budget.
Public works.
Mowing. Yep.
So
All the
portions of
staffing.
our operations are kind of all over the place here. I'm just trying to grasp
It's
where
a
the numbers
rec
are
facility.
earmarked from us.
Rec facility. Then the rec facility and then in the park and recreation. I'll get you a copy.
Okay, and I've seen it in the budget, the
Yep.
line items,
Yep.
and their corresponding, item numbers.
The staff breakdown for the staff that cleans the bathrooms. For ECR, or the rec center, part-time for rink attendants in the winter.
So we're not, so yeah, as a park and rec board, we should probably have a look at those numbers. Because I remember last year, we just said, okay, I think maybe taking on a little bit more.
I think you're, no, we're gonna be careful here. As far as recreation activities, it's what your priorities are. It's not how you're gonna micromanage what line item by line item
No,
is in the budget.
That would
It's
be-
gonna be, here's what we're doing now, here's what we'd like to do in the future. How does this fit within the budget?
Yeah.
Well,
know, and
replacing
then-
paper towel dispensers, we look at that and say,
Yeah,
well,
no,
what
you
is
don't
this
look at that.
expense? And then you say, well, they've been vandalized, we say, okay, now we can have a discussion about locking the doors, getting surveillance, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Just opening up some pathways to
Yeah.
understanding
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Well, even if you have surveillance and you catch those that do it, more likely you're not gonna get any, money to pay for it.
Sure.
Camera
That's one
time.
example
Not
of
gonna give you any high expectations on that.
of a multitude of.
I think they're about 14 years old from the picture.
But we can have a conversation.
Probably kids that didn't participate in ECR. That's what I'm thinking.
They are.
You know, I want you, huh? They'll get their own.
Yeah, if you wanna get.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a budget, that, for you guys, I wouldn't be overly concerned about what your budget is. I'd be more concerned with what is your future
our wish
plan.
list.
Yeah.
What is your wish list? And then we can work from there.
Sure.
Because way too often I get these requests, in May for, well, we need it next week. Well, it's not in the budget, We used to have softball association come, Little League come, and they come and then they still never give, it still comes at the 11th hour. So we gotta start thinking of how you wanna assist those activities.
Okay, so I like Julie's idea of bringing all these organizations to the table and saying, what do you potentially see in your future that may request of us some type of
Yeah.
monetary
Or
contribution?
who is participating? Who is contributing to your organization? And how can we help you? Because a lot of times it'll be, well, you get this group to pay for everything. We don't even have to go bother the rest of them. So we know that happens.
I think Little League is doing that. They pay for a lot of things, and so then the other organizations wanna have the same quality level, and it's always a little.
Don't realize how much effort went into it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think there's a new group involved with the youth softball group this summer.
I know they're. yeah.
So that's good to see. I'd like to see their field lined with sponsorship banners and, and concession completed that the city helped them with many years ago, 16 years ago. It just never, the next group of parents, again, it didn't get completed. So, I mean, that could look just the same.
Yeah.
It's just, you gotta get the right group involved and the expectations. So. We got time. It's only May.
Yeah.
Almost.
It's June, our next meeting's.
Yeah. All right, Frederica?
Well, since we're talking about budget, I think there can be more spent on park and rec and the activities that are within your comprehensive plan and the vision of the city. Where I'm coming from first is you have the most beautiful statement out of all the commissions on the webpage for Park and Rec, talking about serving everyone, basically, diversity and everything. In my mind, I'm going, talk is cheap, and I'm not trying to disparage you or anything, just saying in general. Okay, where have you put your money for each of those groups over the years? What projects have you thought of for each of the groups you mentioned? And I know how it goes in life in general, not just in cities, is that those who believe they are part of your group will come to you. There are some who might not think that they're part of Park and Rec because there's something a little bit different, for whatever reason. I think you're the most open group here, and just awesome. Can't stop saying that. But basically, not everyone's going to come up and say to you, hey, you haven't served me or the interest of my group and why I moved here to Ely. They're not going to do that. So I just want you to kind of some time, and I know you have tremendous hours of free time, is to look at it. Which groups are you serving and maybe not totally serving, and then look at how the money's being spent. What projects are being undertaken for those groups, okay, just in general in that. The other is in thinking of how money is allocated, I'm thinking of the projects committee and just in general in the funding and the great job Harold does in getting funding for all kinds of things. Looking at all these additional projects, how much money is really going for Park and Rec? All these different activities, you need buildings, you need space and everything. And the projects that are addressed by projects committees, how many of those relate to Park and Rec out of the total budget?
Quite a bit.
Okay, well, and then
This year, probably the
break it down.
majority of the budget.
Break it down again into who you're going to, or who you represent and stuff. Okay, so that's my thing in budget. Just wanting you to think of the bigger picture. I mean, the groups like pickleball and,
Right.
and the multi, wow. But what about some of the groups that haven't come to you? And I'm going to get to that next, but go ahead.
So I'm not aware of where the Parks and Rec Board has been in the past, but what I see is there's reach, and we are able to, reach out to these people and find them. But as you're hinting at, there are corners where that light doesn't fall, right? But it sounds like there's that projects specifically is mindful of our needs, and that's reassuring. And I think that hearing from people like you helps us uncover anything we might be overlooking.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you broke it, down, and I don't know. I'm just in my mind, just looking at stuff that I've seen on projects and also that the city has funded and stuff, okay? Just in my mind, and again, for land swapping and, subsidizing and finding funding and all kinds of things, they're all, it's really, me, I go beyond.
So
So
I guess the
keep it
question,
simple.
the comment subsidizing, like subsidizing what?
Okay,
Yes.
well, I
Just an
wasn't prepared to do
Just
all
as an
kinds of
example.
details, but let me just throw out something, okay? For example, the community center and the hotel, just in general, okay? But I don't want to go into lengthy things. And again, I don't have the facts in front of me, and I don't want to accuse everyone. What I'm saying is, think about it.
Right.
I could be totally wrong. I realize I'm wrong a lot of times. But just for you to think about it, are you getting adequate funding for the organizations you're representing and want to serve and everything? Just in general. I don't know, but I don't think anyone's ever looked.
Asked those questions.
Right. So that's what I'm doing.
And aware of those needs is a good jar to open and have a peek inside.
Because there's not enough money, and you are so vital to this community. So vital, to say the least. But, again, I don't have the data in front of me, and I mean, go ahead, Harold, or what I was just throwing out for them to think.
One thought I always have, and I shared this with Adam a while ago, and we were talking about Seamers Park. Seamers Park. like Adam was saying, you know, you go down to Seamers Park and you look, wow, look at this town's 3,400 people. You have a beach, 2 sand volleyball courts, with a picnic pavilion, with 2 islands, with a bridge, with a, you know, with a fireplace, with all of this, all this infrastructure here. And you know what? A lot of that stuff was given by donations. Bob Kostrak, Docks and Wheels, gave us a dock at probably half price. He gave us the other dock for nothing, you know, and we built a pavilion off of a donation a family gave, you know, and then, you know, we resized the buildings. We actually got a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers grant to bring sewer down to Seamers Park in 2007. You know, so a lot of the projects that have taken care of other infrastructure needs have also allotted for Park and Rec. Hidden Valley, you know, I like to draw to that example because I think that's one of the shining gems of recreation in the city. You know, just off the edge of town, it's actually school trust land that many people can't figure out a way how to utilize, but the city and the ski club and the bike group now, we've all worked together and we've raised over $500,000 for those trails that have been built out there thus far. So that'll continue to grow as a major economic, not as recreation, but as a major economic driver for the community. You know, the other redevelopment projects we're looking at, whether it be the old industrial, old train depot site, or even the old community center that's pretty much, you know, was a burden on the community being empty for so long. Is that gonna work? Maybe, maybe not. But that's federal tax credits that they're looking towards to utilize to get that facility up and running again. So, you know, as far as what the city's doing or the council's doing is a priority, the projects committee, we got a projects list of about 100 projects long. You know, Adam has seen it, and we prioritize projects as we know money is going to be available. You know, and core things for this town right now, that water line from Burnside, most people probably don't even think about it. Probably don't even know where it is. But for me, that's a big priority. You know, that's a bad.
Right, well,
if you
I'm
lose
not
water
disagreeing
supply,
with any of that.
you know, so that's where the priorities kind of, that's how they kind of align. So as we move forward for this next round, we are looking for more money out at Hidden Valley. We've submitted for FRTP grant to build about 7.5 more miles of trail, because the hope is to build 20 plus or minus miles so that we're a destination with the rest of Ride the Range. So we worked at Tourism Bureau, we got on Ride the Range, you know, so now we're hopefully a destination, just like with the Mesabi Trail. You know, Mesabi Trail, one of the first segments built is in Ely. Back in 1996.
People rent more hotel rooms,
Yep.
we get more tax revenue, we
Right,
have
one
more
of the
money.
first ones to rollerblade on it in 96.
Well, just to move things along real quick, I think I grasped what
It's a
you're
picture.
saying. You see
I
kids
wanna
on,
see that
you see
picture.
kids on skateboards, you think about providing a skateboard park.
Yeah.
And just to keep those things in mind. You had another part to your.
Well, it's also, I'm gonna say this again for myself, you know, and you guys know I post these on that webpage, www.elyminnesota.com/blog/blog. And so I went at great lengths to talk about the comprehensive plan and the vision, and what's missing in the vision plan, like climate change, sustainability. The word bird is missing, and it's interesting that there's not that much mention about accessibility. So tying in with kind of some groups that aren't included like that, okay, the elite field naturalists and activities for them, even a bench to birdwatch. Again, it's like people aren't coming to you for projects necessarily, but they still exist. And people move here for needs. And again, I'm not trying to criticize Harold or the city. I
Bill
want you
was
to
on
think
Park
about
and
it.
Rec when that
I know, I've talked
comp
to him.
plan was
I've
done
talked-
too, so.
Yeah, I talked to him about it. There are things that need to be revised. And specific suggested perhaps on sentences and stuff like
The
that.
more that
I've talked to Bill.
participate, the more data that's provided is, you know, makes for a better plan. So,
Right. Can I finish just whatever, just because I get on a roll or whatever it is. But basically, it's not included in there. There's a whole bunch of things. And I say it's on the website, all kinds of things. What I noticed when I was looking at the 3 different vision statements I've seen for Ely, the comprehensive plan, is that it is anthropocentric, meaning nature is all about human entertainment, not being a value in itself. One of the things I'm looking at, and again, I go into that more at length, and it's not to, again, criticize this group, and what you're doing is great, and all these community things is great. But looking again here, like in this excellent thing, I really, really like it, that was submitted here from the National Recreation Park Association. That's great. Nothing wrong with it, except it is anthropocentric. It is focused on what humans need. Okay? Going to the comprehensive plan and looking at it, I can't remember, it's page 27, 29. It's on the webpage in 5960. Park and Rec is supposed to do more for nature. There is a statement in there saying preserve and protect open space and the environment, setting goals and objectives to do that. That's in the plan. I haven't seen anything done on that. And again, I'm not trying to criticize you. I'm just saying, open mind. I don't know everything. I can be wrong. But it's in there. I haven't seen that part addressed where we talk about nature for nature's sake. There are suggestions within there.
I don't think your assumption is
Can I
correct.
finish first? Can I finish first? Can I just
Fine,
finish?
fine.
And then go
You
ahead.
said
I don't mind
3
you. I
minutes.
don't mind you disagreeing. Yeah. We got interrupted and a few other things. But basically, like let's say even for green space, for lawns and lagoons. Okay, that's part of nature, but also wildlife. And when you look at the plan and perhaps the projects and what your focus is, if you could perhaps do a little bit more, I'm not saying spend all your time, maybe it's 5% of your time, or just think about it. Goals and objectives to protect open space and the environment. Bill Teff talked to you about that, identifying open spaces and protecting it. Nothing has been done. I don't know if there's goals
Disagree.
and objectives.
We did say that we would set aside that nature preserve that he came and requested.
Okay, I haven't seen any emotions.
Comprehensive plan.
Yes, yeah, right. So within that of different goals and objectives, and I know that what I'm saying is gonna get people upset, to say the least. I'm not saying you didn't do your job. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you didn't do your job. But I want you to go beyond the anthropocentric philosophy if everything is for human entertainment, because everything I look at seems to be about human entertainment. And that's fine, and there's good things for it. But what are you doing for nature? And there's more written about that and a few other things. Just a different thought, so you think differently.
That's a good perspective.
So that's all, okay?
Thanks for sharing.
Not trying to criticize you, it's just open your minds. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so Abby did submit, some information from the National Recreation and Park Association, just on some additional information on, well, Abby, you can share more about it since.
Yeah, I just was like thinking about this topic of our comprehensive plan and like what our new goals could be. And I ran into a couple things that just like, it's just this really comprehensive list from the National Recreation and Park Association of like it's just like brainstorming essentially, like, oh, what are some things we could focus on? So I just wanted to share with everybody essentially of like, this is like a good place to start to be like, oh, I didn't think about Parks and Rec that way, just to like, just some considerations. And then the second article, this is from West Valley City, Utah. It's not that great of an article, but I just thought it was cool that this is like, West Valley City, Utah is a thriving community that recognizes the importance of parks and rec, whatever. So it's just like this little like West Valley article being like, look at what we're doing. So anyway, I just thought that was fun, and that could be us someday. And just to a couple things that stuck out to me as we are kind of a little bit lightly brainstorming our comp plan is like, community sports seems to be, there's something there for us. It doesn't mean like we're funding everything. And I appreciate your input, Harold, too, on just like the budget stuff. What I'm sensing is like sports just need some leadership and structure and like some help gathering. And like if that's something we did, by just like helping coordinate some meetings, I mean, I think a lot of improvements could be made.
Can I interrupt you there?
Yeah, sure.
Is there an Ely sports group that helps oversee how everything's scheduled?
No.
Because when you're looking at the schedules of the fields and the meetings and the practice area, like, how is all this coordinated?
Athletic director at the school, and then of course at the college, they're the ones in charge for their facilities.
Yeah.
You know, so that'd be when there's high school baseball going on and all the high school sports. But once it gets beyond that, you know, youth sports, it's each individual volunteer organization. Some are more organized than others, obviously.
Right.
Baseball Association, Little League, now with Ely Area Softball Association, I think is what it was for the youth softball. So yeah, I think some are more organized than others, but how much they participate together, you know, as far as Little League softball field, the league softball field, not a lot.
I wouldn't say
And
how
that's
much, but
where-
how do they juggle all of that? And should they maybe consider some type of just a 3 or 4 person panel that says, oh, we've got everybody's schedule right here?
From those 3 groups.
Yep, yeah.
All it would
From
take is those 3 groups,
exactly,
yeah. And there are good people involved in all 3 of them that I think can
Yep.
facilitate that. And that's why I think we start out with this basic lease, expectations, and then it would be a major step.
I mean, yeah, potentially, I might be overstepping, but like, future leases could have something like, there's a twice-a-year meeting with this group, or something like that.
With
you know?
Park and Rec?
With Park and Rec, yeah, sure.
Yep.
But, I guess I have a random detail, and then I'll close my thing here.
It's called.
My mouth is one thing that comes to mind with softball, as we keep talking about the club, or the beer league, or whatever you want to call it, is like, I don't think we necessarily need to like give them more money, but I do think we can help them get more people. Like, that's a problem we're having, is just recruitment. And so like, if they're looking to us for help, that could also be something we can influence. It's just helping spread the word to even our different networks, you know, like, I personally don't know how to sign up for softball.
Right.
Like, I haven't been.
Call Jerome.
Sure, like, just as
Talk to me, you're on the team, I mean.
just as an easy example though, of like, if they're like, we're really struggling, well, it's like, we'll see what we can do. So anyway, just as an example of like, it doesn't all have to be budget stuff, like, can we help with just communication to a broader audience of people?
Again, a panel like that would fall under their.
And don't think it's just Ely that's struggling with league softball teams.
It's everywhere.
All leagues are like,
Yeah.
But I even think about, like, you're talking about recruitment and getting the word out. I mean, I just saw a post that the Garden Club had put
Yeah.
out about that they're gonna be starting, and I hit share to every single major Facebook group that I am in,
Yeah, totally.
that, to broadcast, like, hey, they're looking for people, here's where they meet, this and this.
Yeah.
I'm telling,
every Tuesday morning, you better be
Every-
here.
I
Or I'm
can't,
gonna
but
send her after you.
I
Not
can't,
on
but,
Facebook anymore.
see, I can't, but you know who
Yeah.
will be? My fiance, who's a
Awesome.
teacher and will be off during the summer, and I want him out of the
Well,
house for a couple of
as you
hours.
see,
Yeah.
As you see these gardens, they don't grow them, you know, they don't
No.
take care of themselves. There's a
Right.
dedicated group of like
Yeah. I just
3 or
think-
4 people only know.
I do think that there's just like, there's a lot of potential for communication, and it doesn't all have to be online, but I do think, like, when the Garden Club came last year, they were like, we put an ad in the shopper, and I was like, that's great, but not everybody reads the shopper. Like,
Yeah.
did you post it on Facebook? And which is like, you know, so I do think that there's opportunity there, and I think we can help, and that could be part of our plan, if we wanted to. So anyway, my closing statement is, how do we want to move forward with our comp plan, and like, potentially, do we all want to come back next time with like our 2 top goals, or like, how do we want to navigate having that conversation?
I think that the 2 top goals would be a good, like, with it, would definitely be a good way to do it. It's just gonna be then taking, because there's, you know, 9 of us total, we're gonna wanna let the others who aren't here know, like, this is what we're doing. that's gonna be 18 that's gonna be 18 things.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
hopefully they'll overlap.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that would be a good starting point, especially if we're needing to get this in here and get this going, so that way we can get everything in the budget.
Yep, choose 3,
month.
and then next year we'll choose another 3, or whatever, however the timeline is.
4
But,
to 6 years.
yeah. But,
And they're not always budgetary items. A lot of
Right.
times it's just a
Right.
matter of, here's our priority, to
Totally.
Frederica's point, including, nature and the environment and what elements of that you see lacking. Bill wants to do a bird viewing station down by the culverts there on 88, and he's looking at getting grant funds to do that. So
Yeah.
it's not always necessarily, we got to budget money, it's just
Right.
supporting the efforts of other groups.
Yeah.
Birders and master gardeners, you probably didn't even know, we got a garden club, and then we got a master garden
Yeah.
club, and then, so Ely's all about factions
Yeah,
of different
totally.
groups, it's
Totally,
like, could
totally.
anybody ever just get one big group and
Yeah.
just do all of these
No,
things?
because it'd be too easy if they did that.
Yeah.
The performing arts community, just look at that,
Yeah, yeah.
visual and performing arts,
Yeah,
Many different groups.
but it took how many years for it to all get there?
yeah.
And make it citywide, not just individual groups,
Right.
when you think of things, including everyone.
Right, and I know that that's something that's a priority for everybody here at this table, is to make sure that everybody is able to do it. And everybody and anybody. I mean, I have a sister who's in an electric wheelchair, and so whenever I go anywhere, even with our park and rec stuff, I'm looking, when my sister comes to visit, could we go and do this? Could we go over to the culverts that we have? Yeah, exactly. It is, yeah.
But anyway, I think as we brainstorm, no pressure, but I thought this was really comprehensive. This little reference, there's tons of ideas in there. Don't limit yourself to
No
it.
pressure, you only got till June.
All right. Any further comments, questions, anything like that? Okay. We are good to go.
Shouldn't work.